Today, we're going to talk a little bit about investing outside of the state of California. Fred has been in real estate for close to 50 years.
Okay, 1978.
Okay, you've been
So
buying buildings
yes,
in Los Angeles. You started,
Southern California, Arizona, and a project in New York.
correct. And then a few decades in, you start looking out of state. If you can take us back, I think this was 20 years ago. What did you see? How did you settle in on a particular location? And what was that like to manage and operate real estate outside of your
All right.
geography?
So generally speaking, when you go out of your core area of expertise, you get hammered. So you want to stick to what you know. So in Southern California, what I did on my acquisitions was I congregated my acquisitions so I could be more effective in my property management. If you have buildings in San Diego and San Francisco and out in Palmdale and Lancaster and Fresno, you're never going to get out of your car. You're not going to really know the market. And if someone's stripping the copper out of your building, you're really not going to know about it until after the fact. So you really need to have your finger on the pulse. And in order to do that, you need boots on the ground. You need to have someone looking after your assets. Now, there are two states I want to talk about. One is Arizona, one is Texas. What do they have in common?
Pro-business.
Yes, they're pro-business, but barriers to entry. If you want to build a nice apartment building next door to a building that you have, because you have a successful building, the barriers to entry are very easy to get in, get a permit, and build.
Mm-hmm.
So the commonality really between Arizona and Texas is that JP Morgan Chase will not make an apartment house loan in either state because the swings are huge.
Volatile.
It's a volatile market. Good times are great, and bad times, people just get wiped out.
Mm-hmm.
So right now we're changing. Our market is changing. So we're not heavily leveraged. I like to keep our debt somewhere 30% or less, debt to equity, and we try to stay out of the markets where we have these big swings. Now, does that mean I will not go to Phoenix? I will frankly go anywhere as a specific type of buyer.
You're a situational opportunist.
That's
okay.
Correct.
Now let's take that back full circle to buying out of state. 20 years ago was one story. Today's a completely different story. Can you talk a little bit to the evolution of your thought process and your approach? Irrespective of you being a situational opportunist, let's be real general. How is your mindset looking at deals in Los Angeles? How is your mindset looking at deals out of state? And what are some of the considerations and implications in this current economic environment?
Well, my assets are all in Southern California. And if there's a bad earthquake and I survive, then what? So if I look to diversify, where is it then I'm going to go? So there was a broker that gave me a call, and he said, Fred, there's a 290,000 square foot shopping center in Arizona, and there was a Walmart in it, and 90,000 square feet. And so I made an offer at $35 a foot for the shopping center. And they said, no, thank you. And I called them back again and said, I'd like to make another offer. They said, okay, how much? I said, $35 a foot. They said, will you increase it? I said, no, but I'll buy it as is with no warranties, no reps, and we can close quick. They said, no contingencies for debt? I said, no contingencies for debt. They said, we'll get back to you. They sold me the property. Then I had to re-tenant the property. That hasn't been easy. In fact, it's run negative for a lot of years. But now it's doing better. Mm-hmm. And now Arizona, frankly, is doing a whole lot better. Mm-hmm. And part of the boom is if you look at what the cost is to rent a U-Haul truck and drive from LA to Phoenix, I think it's something like $1,900. But if you want to rent that U-Haul truck in Phoenix and drive to Los Angeles, I think it's $95.
Yeah.
You got to get the trucks back. If you said, no, I'll only pay $50, they would say, thank you. Mm-hmm. So the apartments that we're renting, I couldn't get $400 for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment 20 years ago. And today for 1-bedroom apartment, I'm getting $1,000.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd say 7 out of 10 applicants comes from California. So you have a lot of people that are running from California. They don't like the crime. They don't like the lost jobs, or the lack of opportunity and the cost of living. In this area by the Colorado River, in Arizona, the price of gas, believe it or not, is $2 less per gallon than Southern California.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to live there.
A lot easier to live there, but in the summer, in fact, you know what? It's got the best weather in the nation, 6, 7 months out of the year.
Yeah.
But for 4 or 5 months, it's not fit for rattlesnakes.
Right.
I mean, have you ever seen 125, 130 degrees before?
I've been there with you.
Yes,
so
you have. Yes, you have.
Um,
Well, when you want to cool down, what you do is you turn on your oven and you put your head in it. So it is hot.
Yeah. Okay. So considerations
On looking for utilizing other areas for diversification in real estate, I think, is important.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you still have to operate the properties. You have to understand the rent control laws. You have to understand whether or not the retailers are coming or going. There are plenty of opportunities if your eyes are open and you understand the trends in a marketplace.
Well, let's pivot really quick. So there's 2 other things I want to hit. Number 1 being, can you speak a little bit to Costa-Hawkins and what's on the ballot in November, how that would potentially affect things here? And no, I don't want to necessarily say a prediction, but just kind of like speak to the current environment.
So we're going to talk about Costa-Hawkins. We're going to talk about vacancy decontrol. But there are other pressing issues as well. I had some insurance renewals last week at 300% increase. If you can get insurance. I had a $50 million umbrella that was canceled.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm fighting to get $5 million now. My home premium, the insurance premium on my house went from $5,000 to $54,000. And when I paid it, they canceled me. So I'm now California Fair Plan.
Right.
So if you look at the cost of doing business in Southern California, that's one side of the equation. The other is the demand for affordable housing, which is huge. Now, what kind of vacancy factors do we have in Southern California? Well, new construction is $300 to $600 a foot, depending upon the density of what you're building. And if you're building at $300 or $400 a foot, and you pay for the land, and it takes you 2 years, and you have the permits, and you have the costs associated with the city of Los Angeles, in order to break even, you're going to have to get $5 a square foot in rent. So if a 1-bedroom apartment is 600 square feet, it means you've got to get $3,000 per month. Now, how many people can pay $3,000 a month for rent for a 1-bedroom apartment? Well, in order to qualify, you have to have disposable income of 3x, or $9,000 a month, which is $108,000 a year. So if you're making $108,000 a year, you're going to want to live in a tiny 1-bedroom, 600 square foot apartment. I mean, we're still not Manhattan. But the issue and the question is, with all the new construction that we have that has gone up, would I want to buy a building at $400,000 or $500,000 a unit?
No.
And have to achieve $5 plus a square foot in rent in order to break even? That risk-reward ratio is skewed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I operate affordable housing. My rents are $1.50 a foot. If you can't afford my apartments, frankly, you look for a nice park bench. You are homeless. Now, my apartments, what we do is we over-improve and we under-rent. We are affordable, clean, decent housing. Our occupancy is in the 99th percentile. So, by offering the amenities and keeping the rents affordable, I don't have the turnover, which means I can focus on acquisitions.
So you would probably not be as affected as by the vacancy decontrol, but let's talk about the concept.
Yes, I am affected.
Why?
I'm affected because I benefit when I get a voluntary vacancy. When I get a voluntary vacancy, I will move my rents up.
Of course.
So if I'm currently getting for a 2-bedroom apartment $1,800 a month, and the market should bear $3,000 a month, if I get a vacancy, maybe I'll re-rent it for $2,200, $2,300, $2,400 per month. So I wouldn't want to have to re-rent that apartment for $1,800.
Right.
Because I'm going to improve that apartment. I'm going to make that apartment nice. Now, if you take away the incentives to improve an apartment, if you take away the profit center or the profit potential on the operational side, I don't know how many people you're going to get to work for nothing or to work for a loss. So now, at what point, when you continue to extract from property owners any ability to generate a profit, do you have the property owners take their capital, because capital has wheels, and take that capital and go to Arizona or go to Utah or go to other locations or other forms of investment?
But how if property owners didn't have the means to redeploy capital? Let's say they're a mom and pop, they've owned for 20 plus years, and something like this on the ballot gets passed through. What is that going to do to values, and what is that going to do to the real estate market in Los Angeles?
Well, we have this luxury tax,
Mansion tax.
mansion tax. And this mansion tax, I have seen an ugly, ugly impact on apartment house values, where syndicators now are not willing to go to the city of Los Angeles and build. They're not willing to acquire. And I think we've seen a 30% drop in prices, maybe in the last 15 months. A 30% drop. We've also seen, of course, an increase in interest rates. So if interest rates now have gone from mid-threes to high sixes, doubling your interest expense, your operating expenses have substantially increased. The city of Los Angeles, through DWP, they're looking to double the sewer use fee, which will be a 50% increase in the cost of water, already the highest cost water, power and water in the nation. So you take away the incentive to work, and you increase the cost of operations, and you increase the cost of doing business, and you pass restrictions on the operations, and who's going to build apartments in Los Angeles?
Let's wrap it up really quick.
Okay.
I have one last thing. We'll just get to it. I want to touch on it. It sounds like a lot of your best acquisitions throughout your career have been on inbound calls from brokers. Am I wrong?
I would say the best opportunities come from waking up early, going to the gym, working out, working with brokers, and always being honorable to brokers.
But
Boy, is that a key.
can you speak a little bit to that?
Yes, I will.
Because you've had some brokers bring you some pretty fantastic deals.
It's not difficult to cut a broker's fee. And once you do that, the next time that broker has a great deal, he's not going to call you. Protect the broker. Make the broker feel that he's important, because frankly, he is. Believe in the broker. Follow the broker. Work with the broker. Work with your agent. You cut his fee, and that's not hard to do. The next time there's an opportunity, he doesn't call you. So in my career, I've never cut a broker's fee.
Mm-hmm.
I've honored my friends that are brokers and agents. I want to do more deals with them. I look forward to the opportunity. The people that I work with, I've worked with for decades.
Right. And they've brought you deals.
And they continue to bring me deals and opportunities.
And they know you'll close. They know you're an easy, surefire close.
They know I will perform, and I'm not a last hour renegotiator.
Right.
You know, I've seen a lot of different styles over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And my style is pretty simple. I don't want to pay much, but what I tell you I'm willing to pay,
you're going to pay.
I'm going to pay.
I'm not tying people
and I'm
up.
going to close.
Yeah.
And I'm going to close time. But I've seen over 45 plus years, a lot of interesting ways to negotiate. And frankly, I think the best way to negotiate is to be forthright up front. Up front. Offer what you want to offer. Try to keep your contingencies to be less, not more. Try to knock out those contingencies early, not late. Try to work with your bankers, your mortgage bankers, or your banking relationships in an honorable way. Don't burn a bank.
Okay.
I look forward to our
Next meeting.
next conversation.